Hey friends, Justin here. In the words of Almost Famous, I'm in too true a mood, so I thought I would come back on and do a review of, I'm going to go out on a limb and say my favorite film of all time, which is 12 Years a Slave. So, in 2013, I didn't know words like Lupita Nyongo and Steve McQueen. I didn't know that those words existed, and I didn't know, that they would mean so much to me. By 2013, Marvel had started up. Iron Man was already 5 years old at that point. And I had kind of given up on originality. I had given up on art and filmmaking being mainstream and really being taken seriously because, we had found that the money is behind Marvel. Anyway, my crazy rant over. The first time that I saw this film, it took me almost a year after it came out to watch it. I do not enjoy slave dramas. I do not like violence porn. I do not like watching my people struggle. I have a really hard time with watching black people, on film being mistreated and et cetera, et cetera. And I have a hard time watching indigenous people and all people, being mistreated on film. So it took me a long time to watch it because everyone says, oh, it's so hard. It's a hard film to watch, blah, blah, blah. And I believed it. And I says, well, it's certainly not for me. And I can't tell you what made me turn it on, but from the second, that it opened, I was transformed. It's so artistically shot, beautifully shot. Every single second of the film could be put up and framed. It's absolutely haunting. How detailed, Steve McQueen's vision of the natural world was. And how full his scenes were. You would see in the foreground, a slave being mistreated. In the midground, you may see horses, and in the background, you may see some other slaves dancing around or having fun. And then through the shot, and you guys know the particular shot that I'm kind of weaving in and out of. You also see the daylight passing as the scene goes on. There's weight to what's happening. There's weight to the time that's passing. There's weight to the fullness of what you're seeing. There's depth to the fact that people were so used to horrors that they went on about their daily lives, while horrific things were happening around them. But just to have the presence of mind to have such a complete vision was jaw-dropping and awe-inspiring for me. And I figured, Steve McQueen, I'd never heard of who or what that was. So I figured, I says, this is, an old white guy, put this together. It reminded me of Schindler's List and things like that. And when I saw Steve McQueen and saw that he looked like, someone that, like my Uncle Rodney, and had an interest and a passion for telling such a beautifully told story. I mean, it just, every aspect of this film made me emotional at the time. This is my favorite Sarah Paulson role of all time. She's every time Sarah Paulson comes on screen, she makes my blood run cold. So 12 Years a Slave follows, after 5 minutes of me rambling here, 12 Years a Slave follows Chiwetel Ejiofor, a free man that lives in the North, as he goes through the ordeal of his life, living as an enslaved person in the South, having achieved or lived his freedom, having found a passion and a family and something to live for, and having had honor, in his life, to be degraded all the way back to what he was, to be degraded, back to a slave, was really something, and it just really shows you the strength of the African spirit. The who else could endure kind of the horrors that he went through. So that scene towards the beginning where they strip or separate the mother from her child, and just casually, Paul Giamatti is just casually talking about, the situation as if it's nothing. And then Sarah Paulson says, "Oh, you'll see." I believe it's Sarah Paulson, but a female figure says, "Oh, you'll soon forget about that." As if they're animals. It's a horror film. It's it's a story about triumph. It's an art film in the best sense and on the highest level. It's a story of unflinching truth. Lupita Nyongo acted for her life. She's still acting today, almost 10 years later, because of the weight of her role. It's in her skin, the weight of. Do you understand what I mean? And not her color or not the way that she looks. Her character is down to, and I don't know how else to describe this, but the Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. The character is down to the oil in her skin, the condition of her hair, the way that she holds herself is so. It feels so historically accurate, that Hollywood. This was her first acting role, and Hollywood said, "Whoa, whoa," whoa, best supporting actress. And she continued to, she continues to act today. I mean, she was absolutely, incredible. Michael Fassbender, he to me played the most interesting and the most chilling of the slave masters. But I tell you, Sarah Paulson for me is my takeaway from this film. I don't know about anyone else, and I've watched some of the analysis of this film over the years, and obviously you want to give Chiwetel Ejiofor, who's a powerhouse, Lupita Nyongo, and you want to give those people their due. But Paul Giamatti and Sarah Paulson, I can think about the film and get chills. And as a black person, to understand the fear that a simple word that someone could say, to see that painted, to see the things that we talk about and we march about, and I won't get political here, so artistically and easily painted and drawn out, it's really something. It's and even though it's difficult what's really the achievement of this film is, even though it's difficult and you want this guy to get out of this situation, the beauty of the storytelling is such that you don't necessarily want to leave the canvas, if you understand. Once he's free and it's over with, everything, is a little bit more bland and dialed in. But when he's going through that ordeal, that those 12 years were the years, the years of his life. Not in a good way, but they had such an indelible mark on him that the colors that were used were so vibrant. Spoiler alert, that one scene where he hangs all day, the film goes in and out of focus between him and the background and the summer colors on the plantation. And I can remember the first time watching it, and I think I watched that scene on a laptop the first time and not on a screen. I can remember my jaw dropped. And I do think, that's one of the most difficult. I tell you, I cannot watch, slave movies. That scene is one of the most difficult scenes in film, but it's the best scene in film history. I go back to it from time to time just to marvel at its beauty. The camera work, the implications of what's happening, the depth of thought that went into it. It's really something. It's really a film achievement. So if you guys have not watched 12 Years a Slave, directed by Steve McQueen, do yourselves a favor. Educate yourself in film and filmmaking by watching 12 Years a Slave. You will never, you won't be the same after watching this film. When you realize the potential for not only black film, but when you tell the truth, there's so much potential there. Anyway, guys, what did you think? If you have seen 12 Years a Slave with Chiwetel Ejiofor and Lupita Nyongo, what are your thoughts? What are your favorite parts? Who are your favorite characters? Some people love Brad Pitt, etc., etc. But I've shared my faves with you. Please give this video a like, comment, and please consider subscribing for more movie and TV related content. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.